Imagine the busiest, most vibrant city in the entire world. Imagine Times Square in New York, a place famous for bright lights, massive crowds, and endless noise. Now imagine that same place, completely silent. There are no cars driving on the roads. There are no tourists walking on the sidewalks. The giant billboard screens are still flashing bright colors, but there is absolutely no one there to see them. It feels like a haunting scene from a science fiction movie. But this was not a Hollywood movie. This was the terrifying reality in the early spring of 2020. You were ordered to stay inside your house. You were told to lock your doors. The entire global economy simply stopped moving. You were hiding from an enemy that you could not see, you could not hear, and you could not touch. This is the unprecedented story of the Great Lockdown. It is a story of a silent health crisis, the incredible bravery of frontline workers, and the year that the entire modern world changed forever. In the final weeks of 2019, the world was focused on normal things. People were celebrating the upcoming new year. They were shopping, traveling, and planning their future vacations. But on the other side of the planet, quiet reports began to emerge about a new, unknown illness. It started as a small whisper in the international news. Most Americans completely ignored it. They believed that modern medicine and vast oceans would keep them perfectly safe. They thought it was just another distant problem that would quickly fade away. They were terribly catastrophically wrong. By February of 2020, the invisible threat had silently crossed the borders. It did not care about wealth, status, or military power. It moved swiftly and quietly through busy international airports. It traveled on crowded subway trains and in busy office buildings. The situation escalated with a terrifying, unpredictable speed. Then came the second week of March, a turning point that shattered the illusion of safety. In a matter of days, the normal rhythm of American life completely collapsed. The National Basketball Association abruptly canceled its entire season. Famous Hollywood actors announced they had contracted the illness. The President of the United States addressed the nation from the Oval Office, announcing massive restrictions on international travel. The reality of the crisis finally crashed down upon the public. A massive, overwhelming wave of panic buying swept across the nation. People rushed to the grocery stores in total desperation. They emptied the shelves of bottled water, canned food, and paper products. The bustling aisles turned into chaotic scenes of survival. The government realized that the only way to slow the spread of the invisible threat was to completely separate the population. Mayors and governors across the country issued historic stay-at-home orders. Schools shut their doors, sending millions of children home indefinitely. Massive corporations forced their employees to work from their kitchen tables through computer screens. Within a few short weeks, the bustling centers of commerce became ghost towns, creating a haunting, unforgettable landscape. The silence in the massive cities was deafening. The only sound echoing through the tall concrete canyons was the constant, terrifying wail of ambulance sirens. New York City became the absolute epicenter of the crisis. The hospitals were completely overwhelmed by the sudden surge of patients. They ran out of basic supplies. They ran out of protective equipment. They ran out of beds inside those crowded hospitals. A new generation of American heroes emerged. Doctors, nurses, and medical staff worked unbelievably long, exhausting shifts. They wore heavy protective gear that left deep, painful marks on their faces. They risked their own health every single day to save complete strangers. They held the hands of the isolated patients, offering a small touch of humanity in the darkest moments. They were the frontline soldiers in a war against a microscopic enemy. Every evening, at 7 o'clock, the citizens of New York would open their windows and step onto their balconies. They would clap their hands, bang on pots, and cheer loudly to honor the exhausted medical workers walking home. It was a beautiful, profound moment of human unity in a time of intense isolation. While the medical workers fought the crisis in the hospitals, the rest of the country faced a massive economic disaster. Because businesses were forced to close, millions of hard-working Americans lost their jobs overnight. Small family restaurants, which had survived for generations, were forced to shut their doors permanently. The government had to pass massive financial rescue packages, sending direct checks to citizens just to help them buy food and pay rent. The crisis forced society to adapt in entirely new ways. The concept of virtual living became the new standard. Birthdays, weddings, and graduations were celebrated through small video screens. Grandparents had to wave to their grandchildren through closed glass windows. The physical distance created a deep, painful sense of loneliness and anxiety across the entire nation. But humanity is incredibly resilient. The brilliant scientists of the world united in a massive, unprecedented effort. They worked around the clock in secure laboratories to decode the invisible threat. In an operation that completely shattered historical records, they developed effective solutions in less than a year. The massive distribution of these solutions eventually helped to slowly turn the tide of the historic crisis. The year 2020 left a deep, permanent mark on the global population. It proved that the modern connected world is incredibly fragile. It taught us to appreciate the simple freedom of a handshake, a crowded concert, and a family dinner. The world eventually opened its doors again, but the society that emerged was forever altered. The invisible threat of a health crisis forced the nation to pause and reflect. But what happens when a totally different kind of crisis erupts entirely from within the society itself? What happens when a shocking home video exposes a deep, painful division in a massive city, sending thousands of angry citizens into the streets? In our next episode, we will travel back to the early 90s. We will uncover the roaring flames of Los Angeles, the desperate calls for justice, and the 6 days of chaos that shocked the entire nation. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and join us next time as we continue to uncover the thrilling hidden chapters of history.